The following podcast is scheduled for one fall. I'm your reigning, defending, undisputed host, Sexy Thor, and this is episode 15 of The Ring of Thunder. Raw was supposed to start with Charlotte vs. Asuka, formerly advertised as champion versus champion, but the Boston Hug Connection, aka Bayley and Sasha, came out along with the Iconics and turned into a triple threat in a tag war between the team of Charlotte and Asuka. Asuka tagged herself in right when she was about to finish Billie Kay and made Billie tap to the Asuka lock while Asuka was celebrating. Charlotte struck her down and was holding her Raw Women's Championship. After TakeOver the previous night, Triple H did say Charlotte's NXT booking would pay off in 3 to 4 months. And all I have to say is, look, Mr. H, lots of things in my life this year will be paying off in 3 to 4 months. I should be back at my job by then. Wonder Woman 1984 will hopefully be out, along with the New Mutants. Not holding my breath for that one. It'll be Dragon Con time, or a fun weekend of that Avengers game and All Out, and most importantly, it'll be Halloween time. I need something to pay off now, otherwise I'm just killing time at home. That said, Io Shirai winning the NXT Women's title was a payoff of 2 months of story going back to that number one contenders ladder match at what would have been TakeOver Tampa, so I'm just spoiled and impatient. Seth Rollins came out right before commentary was about to interview Rey Mysterio, and Seth kicked Byron Saxton off the table and took his headset, and he didn't literally kick him, and he said hello to Rey, and Rey replied, "You son of a bitch," right before commercial. Unintentional comedic timing. Rey said his prognosis is promising on his return and nothing's guaranteed, but when he does, he's got a 619 with Seth's name on it. Seth was trying to tell him how wrong he was before Aleister Black dived right across the table out of nowhere right at Seth. After a quick tag match that had Aleister pinning Murphy for the 639th time, the Messiah and the Disciples laid waste to Carrillo and Aleister yet again. Next, we had the return of The Peep Show, the talk show hosted by Christian, and he had his best friend Edge as the guest to see where his head's at, and drop some brutal honesty on Edge to fire him up and bring back the Edge we're used to seeing, then softened up and gave Edge his full confidence. Randy Orton came on the screen and told Edge he's going to send him home for good. MVP was being interviewed when 24/7 champ R-Truth was trying to hide nearby. MVP was berating him for being a joke, and then Bobby Lashley put a full Nelson on Truth. I don't think either guy tried to take that 24/7, 7-11, 1287 something title either. The Viking Raiders and Street Profits competed in a decathlon. Street Profits won the 1600 meter dash. Viking Raiders won archery. Street Profits won flip cup. Viking Raiders won sword fighting by forfeit. Street Profits won hurdles. Viking Raiders won stick fighting. Street Profits won a dance-off, with the only judge who picked the Viking Raiders thinking Ivar is cute, Eric not so much. Street Profits won shot put. Viking Raiders won the turkey leg eating contest. Viking Raiders won the pole vault, and the final score is a tie. And of course, at Backlash, they will actually compete in a wrestling match for the Raw Tag Team Championship. Maybe it's the greatest Raw Tag Team Championship ever. United States Champion Apollo Crews introduced the ensuing triple threat for the right to face him at Backlash for the title between Kevin Owens, Andrade, and Angel Garza. Andrade and Angel spent a good bit of the match ganging up on KO, but couldn't settle on someone to pin him at the cost of those two going at it. Selena Vega tried to break him up and restore order, but she got hurt in the process. Eventually, KO hit Garza with a stunner. Andrade pushed him out of the way and stole the pin, and will face Apollo Crews at Backlash to try to get back his U.S. title. Kurt Angle picked Edge to win the greatest wrestling match ever. This is the go-home Raw for Backlash, so this is the last we'll be seeing of this. MVP's new VIP lounge was going to have his associate Bobby Lashley as the guest, but in the middle of MVP's very nice intro, Drew McIntyre came out under the guise of thinking MVP was talking about him. Lashley tried to sneak up on him and lay some sort of trap with MVP, but all MVP got was a Glasgow kiss. The Viking Raiders came out to back up McIntyre, and the Street Profits came out for commentary. Bobby Lashley made Eric tap out to the full Nelson and then put Ivar in the full Nelson, and it took the Street Profits plus a Claymore to get him to release it. The main event was Asuka versus Charlotte Flair in a match that was almost 30 minutes, and holy shit, it was incredible. The NXT universe really missed the mark not chanting "Fight Forever," because that's what I was chanting. Sasha and Bayley were at commentary for a while, with the Iconics watching from the NXT, actually WWE universe, until they decided to just attack Sasha and Bayley, and then all four of them eventually just disappeared. It ended with Nia Jax coming out and being a distraction, as Charlotte gave her a big boot and got the 1-2-3, then Nia Jax did a Samoan drop of the remaining scraps of Asuka. There was just so much going on here, and I feel like my whole summer was just planned out for me and I didn't even realize it. And kudos to Charlotte Flair for putting on incredible main event matches 2 nights in a row, plus the opening triple threat tag match at the beginning of the show. I don't give a damn if you're tired of her. I always end up loving her matches, especially with Asuka and Becky, so I can't hate, even as the biggest Becky Lynch mark this side of the 9 realms.
You have 30 seconds to describe Thunder Talk.
It's pop culture.
With a twist.
It's music.
LGBTQ+.
And comedy.
Well, dark comedy.
It's nerd junk. It's comic books.
Video games.
Conventions.
Yeah, nerd junk.
And social commentary.
It's woke, yo.
Yeah, and nerd junk.
Woke nerd junk.
Thunder Talk is all over the place.
Every place you want to be.
Thunder Talk is a proud member of the ESO Network. Find us at thundertalk.org and download us on all podcast platforms.
On Impact, Michael Elgin defeated Sami Callihan and Ken Shamrock in a triple threat after hitting Shamrock with a powerbomb and getting the 1-2-3. Then Shamrock and Callihan mean-mugged each other for a bit till Callihan did his disappearing trick. Tasha Steelz defeated Susie, and while she didn't show any signs yet, it's only a matter of time before Su Yung breaks through again and just wrecks Tasha and Kiera. That is, if Havoc and Nevaeh don't get their hands on them first. Rohit Raju and Rhino got in a bit of a spat, but the funny and notable part was when Rhino said, "I have a partner. He's got kids," referring to Heath Slater, adding to the teaser angle for Slammiversary next month, hinting at the arrival of wrestlers who are released by WWE in the mass releases. Willie Mack and Cousin Jake defeated Johnny Swinger and Chris Bay after Mack hit Swinger with a stunner and got the pinfall. Then Bay and Swinger attacked them until Cody Deaner made his triumphant return from Canada and chased them off. Also earlier, the North were backstage talking shit to the Rascals, so is Canada open now and no one told me? Taya Valkyrie crashed Rosemary and Johnny Bravo's hangs at that same bar they're always at. Can't relate. To get Bravo to be at her side and still treating him like he's nothing, but Rosemary stood up for him and said she'll be with him too. Demon assassin with a heart of gold. Scott D'Amore announced after a few interruptions that the Impact World Championship will be defended in a 5-way with Tessa Blanchard defending against Ace Austin, Michael Elgin, Eddie Edwards, and Trey at Slammiversary. So that whole number 1 contender tournament was just, you can punch a ticket, but not the ticket. The entirety of cancel culture, including Rob Van Dam and Katie Forbes, came out for the first time in a while to introduce their newest member, Jake Christ, now known as Jacob Christ, right before his match with Crazy Steve, or as they call him, Mentally Unwell Steven. Mentally Unwell looked like he was about to get the edge here, but the cancel buddies slowed him down a bit, and Jacob capitalized with his kicks and the pin. Jordan Grace defeated Taya Valkyrie with a sleeper hold to retain the Knockouts Championship, even though Taya had Rosemary and Johnny Bravo at ringside, but when Taya was flailing around trying to break the sleeper, Bravo and Rosemary were just leaning against the barricade chit-chatting like they were on some sort of date. Jordan's celebration was crashed by Deonna Purrazzo, who came up to check out that Knockouts title and shake Jordan's hand, which turned into a vicious-looking armbar. Her potential's already being better realized on this show. Imagine that.
Hello. Have you ever wondered how much Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster sold Superman's rights to DC for? Or which popular football star was the Sam Wilson the Falcons' physical appearance based on? You can find all that and more at the History of Comic Books podcast, a podcast dedicated to the creators, events, history, and the companies that made the great comic book medium. Hosted and created by your friendly neighborhood JT Wheatley. Please give it a listen at iTunes, Spreaker, Stitcher, and all our podcasting platforms. Thank you, and go ahead and enjoy yourself a good comic book.
On NXT, Roderick Strong and Bobby Fish found their way out of Dexter Loomis's trunk, and they started the show coming out with Adam Cole to threaten Loomis. Strong was extra sensitive because he kept seeing Loomis in the crowd, who disappeared when the other two turned his way, and Strong literally yelled, "Everyone knows I hate being stuffed in trunks," which made me lol. Johnny Gargano and Candice LeRae defeated Keith Lee and Mia Yim after Yim was knocked off the apron. Then Johnny did one final beat DDT on Keith, right on top of Candice. And while Keith picked up Candice to see if she was okay, Johnny hit him with a surprise roll-up and got the 1-2-3, which ended up tossing his wife right out of the ring. This dude is acing this heel persona. By the way, I didn't say anything last episode, but confirmed it after I recorded, but Johnny's takeover gear at In Your House, which is usually Marvel-inspired, was apparently Mandalorian-inspired. I don't think anyone will ever accuse the Garganos of not using their Disney Plus account enough. Indusher defeated Mikey Delbray and Mike Reed, really killed him. Next week, Breezango will get their opportunity at the Tag Team Championship against the current champs Imperium. Cameron Grimes tried to get out of a rematch with Finn Balor after Damian Priest socked him in the jaw, until William Regal caught him being just fine despite him acting like his jaw was broken. He and Finn had a really good match, and Finn was victorious after two 1916 DDTs, then said he's never had the North American Championship and is coming after that next. Dakota Kai defeated American Ninja Warrior Casey Catanzaro with her new GTK go-to kick, then declared her intentions to go after the women's title at the camera just like Finn did right before. She and Raquel Gonzalez then attacked Catanzaro, whose friend Caden Carter came to her aid, and Gonzalez put her down too. So this next segment was a twist and a doozy. New Cruiserweight champion El Hijo del Fantasma came out to address the NXT universe, and Drake Maverick came out to address and congratulate him, and was looking for another opportunity at the title that Fantasma was about to grant when the masked men that's been after Fantasma came out again. Fantasma and Maverick were back-to-back ready to fight when Fantasma turned on Maverick, and it turns out that not only do the masked goons work for him, they're the missing superstars Raul Mendoza and Joaquin Wilde. Fantasma took off his mask, and turns out his name is Santos Escobar. Well, the Cruiserweight division just got 300% more interesting, and Dexter Loomis is the truth. Forget Seth Rollins, there needs to be a cult faction for this guy. He was giving Adam Cole fits, and Roderick Strong was even more on the verge of a nervous breakdown, which is why I'm surprised that he kicked Loomis. He had Cole in the Anaconda hold. It gave Cole the window to get free and hit Loomis with a last shot and get the win. They were about to walk away when Cole went back to Loomis's prone form to taunt him, and then Loomis grabbed him back in the Anaconda hold like Michael fucking Myers. Strong and Fish attacked Loomis to break his grip, and Velveteen Dream came to Loomis's aid to fight them off, and Loomis went after Strong like a slasher movie. Adam Cole was left in the ring when everything around him went dark, and in case this main event wasn't horror movie enough, Scarlett came out of the shadows with an hourglass she turned over and walked away. Adam Cole was hugging that gold a little tighter. On AEW Dark, SCU defeated Lowrider and Fuego del Sol. Alan Angels has officially joined the Dark Order and is now known as Five. The change paid off immediately in the form of a victory over Lee Johnson. The rest of the Dark Order laid waste to Johnson at the direction of Brody Lee. Santana and Ortiz defeated Musa and Brady Pierce. QT Marshall informed Dustin Rhodes that their match tonight is now a singles match for him, since Dustin is a legend and doesn't need to wrestle every week, and gave Dustin and Brandy new Natural Nightmares shirts that Allie made with QT way bigger than Brandy and Dustin. Ooh boy. The Butcher and the Blade defeated Pineapple Pete and Anthony Katana. QT Marshall defeated Zach Clayton. Christopher Daniels defeated Sonny Kiss. Marco Stunt and Luchasaurus defeated Peter Avalon and Brandon Cutler. John Moxley defeated Robert Anthony with a Texas Cloverleaf submission, which is still blowing my mind, seeing him using submissions and sleepers now after seeing him do nothing but dirty deeds / paradigm shifts the last few years. But hey, gotta change and evolve to stay alive. And on Dynamite, what a way to start. Justin Roberts is back ring announcing, Chris Jericho's on commentary, and FTR won their debut against Butcher and Blade. The Young Bucks came out to introduce themselves, I say that with air quotes, who were themselves attacked by the Butcher and the Blade, and for some reason, Kip Sabian and Jimmy Havoc. FTR came to their aid along with Kenny Omega and Hangman Page. What in the name of Tag Team Summit is going on here? The Natural Nightmares have a Tag Team Championship match next week against Omega and Page, and Dustin told QT he can't have Allie at ringside. That's not going to go over well. Penelope Ford and Nyla Rose defeated Hikaru Shida and Chris Statlander after Ford hit Shida with her AEW Women's title and the ref's back was turned and got the pin. What followed was a Darby Allin video. He's not cleared to wrestle, but he's cleared to skate off a ladder. The man in the video who cleared him, Tony Hawk. Holy fuck. Britt Baker talking about her struggle, role model's gonna role model. Best Friends defeated Jake Hager and Santana and Ortiz when Orange Cassidy hit Ortiz with a surprise roll-up. The Inner Circle proceeded to beat the Best Friends with their fists and Floyd the baseball bat, and Orange Cassidy got whacked with a 20-pound bag of blood oranges. Sammy Guevara defeated Colt Cabana, who was then helped up by the Dark Order, so he followed them into the tunnel and went into their dressing room to see what's what. Sammy was then confronted by all the different Matt Hardys, who went from, "You're the future and can realize that if you leave the Inner Circle," to, "I'm going to mash you up like my favorite delicacy and eat you." What in the lake of reincarnation is going on here? A video of Joey Janela getting shitty at a bar and thinking about how 6 months ago he was in the main event with John Moxley and now he's barely jobbing on TV. And as he's walking home drunk, he gets a ride from his new tag team partner Sonny Kiss, and we get a to be continued. John Moxley was interviewing in the parking lot because he thinks since it's not the NXT parking lot, it's not dangerous, or he just doesn't care because in his words he's a miserable son of a bitch or something. And he's griping about Taz talking shit, and Taz comes out to yell at him and he and Cage fight on someone's car. Cody defeated Mark Quinn to retain the TNT Championship, then had to deal with Jake Hager asking for a title shot in his own physical way in a big fight between Cody with the Hardy Party, and the Inner Circle minus Jericho ended the show.
Did you ever wonder why there are 24-hour kid networks? In my book, The Best Saturdays of Our Lives, I write about how Saturday morning became a competitive business and the proving ground for what would become the 24-hour kid network. My book covers the big bang of the 1960s explosion of high ratings to the early digital age of Saturday morning's last hurrah, the 1990s. You can purchase my book by going to thebestsaturdaysofourlives.com, and I will ship you a signed copy.
On NXT UK, this episode of Superstar Picks kicked off at the Great American Bash on July 23, 2006, with Fit Finlay defeating William Regal to retain the United States Championship with the help of his leprechaun that lives under the ring. Yes, you heard that correctly. Next was Rhea Ripley defeating Toni Storm in the finals of the NXT UK Women's Championship Tournament to become the first ever NXT UK Women's Champion. Of course, Toni would get a revenge in the title a month or so later at TakeOver Blackpool. Finally was In-Law vs. In-Law at SummerSlam on August 31st, 1992 in Wembley Stadium when the British Bulldog defeated Bret Hart to become Intercontinental Champion, with Bret's sister, Bulldog's wife, looking on. They shook hands and hugged after the match, and if only In-Laws were that peaceable. SmackDown started quite bizarrely with the Jeff Hardy-Sheamus contract signing, and Sheamus's only caveat is that Jeff take a piss test in the ring. There was a barrier, of course, and a doctor who was able to administer a quicker test. Hardy took the test, and while Sheamus was talking more shit, Jeff took the piss and splashed it in his face. Like he said, it's better to be pissed off than pissed on indeed. Also, apparently the Raw and SmackDown creative teams have been mashed up in an effort to streamline the writing for both Raw and SmackDown for ratings, and it's going to be helmed by Bruce Pritchard, and Paul Heyman is no longer executive director of Raw, but will just be an in-ring performer only. Somebody, I think it was Simon Miller probably, was joking about how next year's WrestleMania main event should be Paul Heyman versus Roman Reigns, and I am so here for it. Then Shinsuke Nakamura and Cesaro defeated the New Day, so finally they get a championship opportunity. Also, when they came out to the ring, Kofi and Big E took a knee and raised their fist in the air. You know damn well what that means, and I'm here for it. Tucker and Mandy are encouraging Otis to cash in on Braun's Universal Championship since they're tagging with him in the main event, and Jeff and Sheamus had a brawl right next to them. AJ Styles defeated Daniel Bryan in an incredible match that had to have been at least 40 minutes, and a straight-up masterclass treat for the Performance Center trainees, and AJ is now your new and phenomenal Intercontinental Champion. Sasha Banks and Bayley threw a celebration for their current tag title reign, and Bayley was about to recite poetry when Bliss Cross Applesauce interrupted because they weren't trying to hear any poetry. The Iconics showed up on the video screen with a Raw background behind them for some reason, and reminded Sasha and Bayley about when they knocked them out of the ring on Monday night, and suggested if they don't want that to happen again, then they shouldn't turn their backs on Alexa and Nikki, which of course they already did and promptly got knocked out of the ring by Alexa and Nikki. Aren't those two so great? Finally was the main event of Braun Strowman and Heavy Machinery versus Miz and Morrison and Dolph Ziggler, and halfway through, King Corbin was on the video screen hitting on Mandy and or intimidating her, which is just weird, which caused Otis to go into a frenzy and leave the match to beat the shit out of Corbin. It seemed like the odds were definitely with Miz, Morrison, Ziggler when Otis came back out with Mandy and finished off Ziggler for the win. Then everyone celebrated and Otis didn't try to cash in. Good feelings all around. On 205 Live, Everrise defeated Leon Ruff and Adrian Alanis, so Everrise has a win now. Damn, good on them. The six-man tag match was like a tale of two different team chemistries, because we had Isaiah Swerve Scott, Oney Lorcan, and Danny Burch, who was working just fine going against the team of Tahuti Miles, Jack Gallagher, and Tony Nese. The latter was just so off and constantly arguing with each other that Gallagher and Nese just said fuck it and let Tahuti fend for himself. So of course, Swerve hit Tahuti with the confidence boost and got the 1-2-3. On the Backlash kickoff, Apollo Crews defeated Andrade to retain the United States Championship despite Angel Garza trying to distract the ref, but Kevin Owens was there at commentary watching Apollo's back. And on the main show, Sasha Banks and Bayley defeated the Iconics and Bliss Cross Applesauce to retain the Women's Tag Team Championship, and will face Tegan Nox and Shotzi Blackheart this week on NXT with the titles on the line. Sheamus defeated Jeff Hardy, but I don't think that we've seen the end of that. Asuka versus Nia Jax ended in a double countout, so Asuka stays Raw Women's Champion, and I don't think this is over either. Braun Strowman defeated Miz and Morrison to retain his Universal Championship. John Morrison had the pin, but Miz reflexively pulled him off Braun because part of the stipulation that was revealed that day was that whoever got the pin or submission would be the Universal Champion, not both of them. So, of course, that whole plan super backfired. Drew McIntyre defeated Bobby Lashley to retain the WWE Championship thanks to a distraction finish you could see coming from a mile away in the form of Lana. She came out ringside to yell at the ref, and Drew made Bobby knock into her, which also caused MVP to fall down. Bobby looked away, which opened him up for a Claymore. Next was supposed to be the Raw Tag Team Championship, but the Street Profits and Viking Raiders started brawling outside, busted Braun Strowman's windshield, which can't seem to catch a break, then ran inside and continued fighting. We saw Easter eggs to the other competitions they've done in weeks past. Ivar kept getting knocked out and having flashbacks of finding turkey legs in random spots, and the women who said he was cute, Eric not so much. They made their way outside again when they were confronted by a group of ninjas on motorcycles led by Akira Tozawa. I'm just going to take a moment to let you process that. So the four men combined into a temporary faction called the Viking Profits and defeated the ninjas. Then Tozawa brought out a ninja that was like 7 feet tall, and they all bailed because the big ninja had a sword, and Ivar summoned a turkey leg like I summoned Mjolnir. I mean, sometimes you just got the gift. They ended up in a dumpster with referee Jessica Carr asking what they're doing because their match is next. Before she left, she told Ivar he was cute, Eric not so much. The guys left the dumpster finally when something with some sort of lizard tail, maybe Godzilla, maybe not, started slithering towards them, and that was that. The championship match, like most other things in 2020, was postponed. I still don't know what I had just watched, but it was incredibly ridiculous and entertaining. Finally, we are here. Here we are. The greatest wrestling match ever. Go ahead and put on the Greatest Showman soundtrack for this one. Not only was this top-notch wrestling, but they incorporated moves and moments from past greats. There was a chop fest reminiscent of Ric Flair and Ricky Steamboat's battles. Randy used Kurt Angle's Olympic Slam as a slight to one of the men who picked Edge to win. Randy and Edge traded finishers when Randy used the Pedigree, finisher of his longtime mentor Triple H. Then Edge used Rock Bottom, finisher to one of Triple H's great rivals, The Rock, the great one. Before all that, both men attempted the Three Amigos suplexes in honor of the late great Eddie Guerrero, with Edge a little more successful in completing them. There was new camera angles and enhanced audio bringing in the live crowd noise. Definitely helped. Edge kicked out of more RKOs than probably anybody, which is funny because, back during the Rumble, we were all like on edge, pun semi-intended, about the possibility of Edge getting RKO'd because of his neck, but Randy is a super safe worker. And Randy kicked out of like 2 back-to-back spears. Randy finally got the better of Edge when he snuck in a low blow and hit Edge with the punt kick and got the 1-2-3. Despite the impossible height, I was still very much pleased with this match, and I would have thought there would be a rubber match coming by SummerSlam, but unfortunately Edge seriously injured his tricep and could very well be out for a few months. Who knows, by the time we get to the conclusion to the Edge-Orton saga, fans could very well be back in the building, and that would officially make this the story of 2020. Imagine that. Anyway, that's the 1-2-3. Thanks for locking up with me in the Ring of Thunder. Kick butts, not nuts. Talking to you, Orton.